have skyrocketed, I must use the word, and a lot of things are happening. Even the ones that we thought had come down are beginning to go up slightly. Apart from the only one I know that is still quite down is the talking about maybe a mudu of gari and that of beans, these two basic staples. The others are not smiling at all. We'll still talk about all that anyway. We'll share a lot more. Rice, I thought, came down. I knew it came down. But the feelers I'm getting this day, in actual fact, is that a bag of rice is getting to 88,000 again. I wonder. I thought it would still remain between the 50, 56, 55,000. But, well, you know something about Nigeria. Whenever we get into the end of year, towards the festive period, talking about the end of year program, Christmas and all that, and New Year celebration, unlike what you find in other parts of the world, at such a time the price of things are brought down, there are different slashes of prices so as to enable everybody to enjoy. Here is the exact opposite. That at such a time, that's when the cost of transport gets to be 4 times what it used to be, and the cost of food, the same thing. Everything rises. Yet it's supposed to be the festive period where things should be brought down. I keep asking, is it a design for Nigeria to behave like this, or is it just what? Well, I've got someone with him to talk about it all today, and I'm talking about someone that is someone that has known what it means to be in governance. He has been in governance, he has headed government, and right now he's practicing, he's doing his private practice in legal practice, and he also knows about the things that affect the people. So today he is here to discuss it with me. Business, as far as I know, he knows about it quite well. So I asked him to oblige us so that we'll sit together, discuss this, and see a way out or a way forward. I'm talking about Barrister Clement Aguiyi. Legal Luminary, good to have you on the program again today.
Thank you, Mr. Onubogu.
Right.
I'm glad to be here with you.
Thank you.
Share some thoughts.
Right. Looking at what we have seen in our country today, the food stuff, price of these things are going. Even, I mean, gas, that is what we enable people cook. You know, sometime in the past they said they don't want, the government policy was that the thing that have to do with, or things that have to do with depleting the ozone layer will be dealt with, so that they are trying to avoid people using firewood and all those things, charcoal to cook, is all gas. Incidentally, the price of gas is not what the common man can handle at a time like this. Please, what do you think about all these? And we'll look at it and find out why should this be in our country that is so blessed, richly blessed with everything you can think of?
Thank you for that very important question. We all here in Nigeria, we live here.
Yes.
We shop from the same market. And we don't need to overflog the issue of the fact that the cost of living is very high. And also when you look at what they call the minimum wage of the average person that is working either in the private sector or the public sector, you find out what is your take home. Is it something that you can actually live on for a period of 1 month? The answer is no.
No.
If you calculate the average person in Nigeria that is very economical, what you spend in a month runs between the average of 500,000 naira to 700,000 naira. If you are living in a very modest apartment, you find that you're paying not less than 120 to 150,000 naira a month for one self-contained apartment. Then you look at your feeding. Let me assume you are spending about 50,000 naira to feed yourself in a month, which is not possible. If you're going to eat maybe breakfast and lunch at maybe 2,000 naira, which is still not realistic.
Yes, it's not.
You look at the fact that you have to pay utility bills, like NEPA bill, which is increasing and skyrocketing every other day. You pay your water bill, you pay for your transportation. I look at the fact that you're a human being who may one time or the other need Fensic or Panadol, and your health care, and you're spending an average of 30,000. By the time you calculate all these things in a month, you find that the average thing you are spending as just a person, a bachelor, runs between 500,000 naira to 700,000 naira. And what is your take home? Your take home is probably 17,000 to 20,000 naira a month.
And just as you said, it's just for those who are in government, because
for those who are
in the private sector, I take as little as 20,000.
So now you begin to see why corruption is endemic in Nigeria, because there's no way you are paying somebody the salary you're paying that you know is not even a living wage, and you say it's a minimum wage. It is not realistic. It's not sustainable for the individuals. Now, if you take it up again at maybe a family of 1 or 2 or 4, you find that the average Nigerian family of 4 spend about 1.5 million naira every month. And what is the take home in terms of wages? So the cost of living in Nigeria is brutal, very hard and very harsh. And the worst situation is that you are finding the system that wants you to starve, observe austerity measures, and yet they are living as if they are having a bonanza or like a bazaar economy. The cost of living of our people in government, our government expenditure and overhead is so high that you begin to wonder, is it the same people that are borrowing money from all over the world that is spending money the way we are spending, and spending on issues that are not even a priority, that are not impactful on the people? You look at the size of our government. The size of government is so high, so heavy, that there's no way this can be sustainable anymore. We have no business actually practicing the system of government we're practicing today, the presidential system of government, with the ancillary of offices, the convoy of cars they use. You have a unicameral, a bicameral system of legislature in the national and also the states. And some people have been saying add council of chiefs inside again as another. You see, we don't even know what to set of our priority. And when you look at it, you said here that they said stop using firewood so that you can save the environment. Agreed. And we keyed into that. We are producing nothing. We agree with countries that have produced and they have started of producing. That if they start selling what they have in their reserve, the next 5, 10 years, 15, they're still selling without finishing them. And then we keyed in and said, okay, use gas. That gas now is outside the reach of the common man, because we do not have a clear-cut policy on whatever we are doing. Sometimes we are just doing because we see people doing. We go to conventions, people are saying, we don't even ask, how does this impact us? Yes, we said no gas flaring. We want to eliminate our gas flaring. Now the gas we are flaring free of charge, and we are causing environmental decadence in the Niger Delta areas where the gas are being flared.
Yes.
Now people want to have the gas to enable them cook. You have made it out of their reach. And what happens? They go back to the firewood and they're cutting down all the trees again.
Exactly.
You understand? Because the survival is the game. People must survive. Forget all this grammar that we speak. If people don't have what to eat, they will eat you.
That's correct. That's correct.
You see, when you go to some war situations where people no longer have food, they begin to cannibalize themselves to eat, to survive. Because the human being must to survive. You might think what they're doing is wrong, but what about their survival?
Survival
the person that survives
is
the most important thing. So you look at so many things that are happening in Nigeria, and the government will come up with statistics and tell you, oh, inflation has dropped from 18% to now 16 point something percent. Of course, that is their statistics. And even going by that statistics, 18% inflation and 16% inflation is still very high. It's still very high for us. And you can see why there's maybe a drop from September that was 18 point something to now 16 point something in October, November. It's because we're into the harvest season.
Yes.
And people are harvesting a lot of crops out from the farm. So the prices of things about to come down. And because of the fact that we don't have good storage facilities and system that can enable to have these things that we are producing, not to decay. You go to Benue State, you cry. You cry because you see oranges, everything being wasted, decaying and eaten by. You go to the food market, you see that we don't have storage system, we don't have anything we produce, we don't take it now. It perishes.
Wasted, yes.
It's wasted. So you ask yourself, why am I planting? And we are doing this since year in, year out. And we have not been able to ask ourselves a simple question. How do we store these things that we have produced? Preserve them in a healthy way so that we're no longer having them as seasonal times.
Because these things can still be taken out of that season, and enjoyed.
Yes, because why are we still talking about seasonal cropping? Why is Nigeria still talking about there's a time for planting cassava, there's a time for planting yam, there's a time for planting corn? Why should it be like that? What you need to plant all these things are water and sun.
And the soil.
And the soil. So why can't we prepare, and the soil that you need to do that, why can't we prepare our environment in such a way that we can have all these things around the world? Why many states that are on the coastal bed that have no reason to complain about hunger because of food, like Anambra State, for example, is on the coastal bed. Why wouldn't you do minor irrigation so that all season we are planting and harvesting crops? Anambra has the capacity to feed the southeastern region because it is on the coastal bed.
Okay.
Moving from Aguleri, it flows down to Ihiala, going down. It is at the coastal bed.
Of course, what do you call it now? The local government that is next to Onitsha, Obaru. All these things are
all the coastal bed. So why do we still talk about we don't have vegetable, we're still getting vegetable, we're still getting carrots, we're still getting cucumber, we're still getting onions, we're still getting virtually every crop from the north. We can do this in our state. It's all about the government supporting agriculture, going out of their way to ensure that some of these crops are tested and planted, and it can happen. I will tell you something that happened in my own garden. I went and brought dungs from pigs to use as manure, not as for my flower. And these dungs I brought, this waste from pigs that I spreaded out as manure in for my flowers, ended up growing watermelon. Huge giant watermelon, because the pigs swallow the seeds of the watermelon. And when I put it in my flower, it became, look, I harvested very big, giant watermelons. So now I say, so watermelon can actually grow in Anambra State. And this one I did not even plan for it. You understand? So the same thing with onions. So we can do all these things and make sure that we have enough food, and also find a way that we store these things. Because if you leave these onions that we have harvested, millions of onions we have harvested from the north, 2 weeks they start decaying. But you go to United States of America, every season you are finding things on the shelf and they are very fresh. There is a way these things are being preserved so that they can last much longer than they're supposed to have on the shelf life. So that is the problem that we have here. Lack of clear-cut policy and the inability to. I think we have been so much, we have wasted so much of our time and energy in thinking of how to loot our oil and mineral resources. There's no more right thinking in the way we can actually our grandfather used to have yam bands. Yes, I remember. That's the mark of a rich man. And they put the yam band, and this is last over the season. The number of yams you have in your band determine how well you are and how strong you are. And all these things, we abandoned our grandfathers, our forefathers' ways of doing things, and we introduced nothing. Everybody wants to be a trader. Everybody wants to buy and sell. Nobody is thinking about the farm. And when the government come up with a policy of going back to the farm, it becomes all by mouth. I remember Chagari was doing
Operation Feed the Nation.
Operation Feed the Nation, right? Is it about, no, I think the Obasanjo did Operation Feed the Nation. And the Green Revolution. And the other one that came after the Babangida administration, go back to the farms. These years we come up with different names and titles, and then we do not sustain. And that is why today we have about 250 to 300 million mouths to feed, and we cannot feed them. The other government that left before this one came and closed the borders so that farmers are able to farm and this thing. What happened? Farmers farm quite all right, but insecurity made it difficult for them to harvest what they
in most cases, the products they got, the produce that were harvested, went to the fellows who are the people causing insecurity.
Yeah, went to the bandits.
Yes, the bandits. They forced them to harvest for them.
So these are the problems, and people now stop going to the farm because of killings and insecurity. It is Bishop Coker that said that the road to the cemetery, the legs to the cemetery are now much more than the legs to the farm. So if you have more legs going to the cemetery to bury the dead, who went to, and you have less legs going to the farm, how do you expect not to have a high cost of living when you don't have the local products we're importing? When you are talking about, you mentioned say something about rice costing 8,000 naira. Yes, why won't it be like that? What is the harvest? Is that because of Christmas season? If the harvest was much, then you'll be able to say, even if you put it there, now even the foreign rice that used to be cheaper than local rice is more expensive.
Yes, it is.
You were talking about 8,000 naira. I priced rice. I wanted to buy rice. I was having seeing rice of 155,000 naira. I was seeing rice of 112,000 naira. I was seeing rice of 90,000 naira. Yes. You understand? So it depends on the variety of rice too. Yes. Sometimes you want to buy this one that he says 80,000 naira. When you cook it, it doesn't rise.
And not only will it not rise, it doesn't last long.
It doesn't last long. Before you know
it's filled with water.
It fills with water.
And
so
that spoils it.
That spoils it. So it's penny wise, pound foolish. We need to come up with a clear-cut policy that are sustainable in all aspects of our agricultural life and economic development.
Thank you so much, Barrister Aguiyi. You see, there is something else, it still baffles me that up to today, we do not have fruit processing companies like, the ones that we call Five Alive, all these ones. Most of them are chemicals. Even when we had chi industry that people are trying to buy now, theirs was milk, dairy, and all that. But we find out that in most of these cases, like nobody anywhere around Kogi State, around Enugu State, around Benue State is producing. It has a mango fruit processing factory or orange fruit processing factory, because that is where you have the raw materials, and we don't find anybody processing them. It baffles me still that up to this point in time in this country, we do not have. Before we started talking about this, our own activity of Nigerians doing their things, when we were under colonial rule, there was this food processing factory in Oji River, where they used to produce cashew nuts and all those things, and they were there all the time. I remember I had even gone to such a factory, that particular one that is around Oji River, and what I saw was so painful because everything was gone. Nobody was prepared to continue working on it when the foreigners left, and after a while the whole place was became a ghost town, and all the equipment were totally destroyed. Why can't we have them again? Today, I said the other time in this program that in this city, I bought a bottle of cashew nut for 800 naira. And yet, right now, that same bottle, I have bought it for 8,500 naira. From 800 naira to 8,500. I have bought it in this same city. In actual fact, in the same supermarket that I went to buy it 800 naira years back, I've gone there, I've still seen it right now. It's kept rising and rising. Now it is 8,000, 8,500. Yet, cashew nuts are what we can get from all over Benue, all over Kogi in particular, and the Enugu state. I remember sometime in the past, we went for a program, and we were coming out. One of the federal, the governor of Enugu state was doing an inspection, and then I think I was with the NTA Enugu then, and so we went to a place called Mbu, and then we got there. I saw mangoes everywhere on the road, and nobody was touching these mangoes. So at the stage I had to ask, please, these mangoes, why are you letting them all be everywhere on the road? You know what they asked me? Do you want to eat? Please, take. We don't have any need of it anymore, that's why. I felt so bad. All over the road, their houses were just by both sides of the road. And in each compound, you see 3, 4, 5, 6 mango trees. And nobody was interested. And that was where I tasted the sweetest mango I've ever tasted in my life. Yet, these things are being wasted. You know what they told me? Did you come with your car? Come, bring your vehicle, let's fill your boot for you. I felt so bad. How can we be talking about such a thing in our country? A place where we should have, those in authority, just as you mentioned, should have brought people who will come and do this work here, no matter what. Not when we go to most of the supermarkets to buy fruit juice, it is the chemical ones that we are taking, and everybody feels all right. And because you see something like the nectar, which is not true, there are things we need to work on and to get our country better. Let me also bring this other side. This CNG, they talked about the CNG. Now when the CNG comes, the cost of transport will be brought down. But it baffles me too that today, if you enter the CNG vehicles, it is still not a reduced cost. At least I remember that the other day, I saw one moving from Nyanya to Wuse, and they said the price was 500 naira. And I said, what is the difference? When these taxis and other people will carry people for 700 naira, even some cases 600, now you're doing this one that is a big luxury bus that contains about 35 or so, or 65 on whole. You're now taking 500 naira from them. What have you done? Yet it is CNG. It is not the fossil fuel we're talking about, it's CNG. And I said, with the way they were talking about the CNG, I expected that when such a vehicle comes and people will enter, even at the fact that it's a big one that will contain many more people, it should have been 200, 300. Why 500? And I have a question. Does it mean that the government does not even look into the activities of these people so as to make sure that it is brought down to the reach of the common Nigerian?
Yeah, you see, one, the government you're talking about, you ask yourself a question. Are there governments in place because of resolving the problems of the common man? Or are they there to serve their interests and the interests of the rich?
A very big question.
Somebody is having the contract for the CNG. And the person they're having the contract of the CNG did not get it on a platter. People in government will have asked him their own cut and their own stake. And when you become invested as a regulator in the business that you're supposed to be regulating, what moral do you have to check if this thing is working in accordance with the policy and the reach of the common man? The person that bears the brunt at the end of the day is the common man. The corruption in our system is a corruption that is borne by the common man at the end of the day. Because the government, you ask yourself, are they interested in resolving the issues of the common man? Are they passionate to sacrifice their greed, personal greed, to make sure that the system works for the common man? That's the issue here. They are not interested
They
in the
are
common man,
not,
because
from what you're
if they are
saying,
interested
yes.
in the common man, you don't need to be. You don't need to be told
Yeah.
that in making your policies, you prioritize the people.
Yes, yes.
How does this program that we are doing affect the people? If the government is conscious of the people, why would the government that have so many taxes inbuilt on petroleum product already
Yes.
remove subsidy? And there's many layers of taxes that you don't need to collect, that you are collecting on petroleum. That is what makes petroleum expensive in the first instance.
Yes.
Now, you, the same government, the same person, the same people, went and increased and applied a 15% tax on petroleum that you buy from January. Does that mean that government cares about the people? Once you put 1% on the cost of petroleum, you have increased the cost of everything in Nigeria, and it will be passed back to the common man. People are crying that things are difficult. People are angry that things are difficult. Nigeria is sitting on it in that. And here people are in government are putting it on your face, leading as if they're not leading human beings. Even people that are leading cattle and sheep are more empathic than our people that are in government. Because the cattle rearer actually prioritizes cattle over any other thing. Can go to battle, can go to war, can kill because of his cattle to graze. Nigerian leaders, Nigerian politicians, Nigerian policymakers, are they interested that the ordinary man in Nigeria can feed and survive? That is why the tax burden is huge on the people. And this is one government, and this is one group of people that I have seen that believe that they can tax Nigeria into prosperity. You cannot tax a country into prosperity. For the country to grow into prosperity, you must create the enabling environment. You must create jobs.
Yes.
People must be able to. You must create the generation that have skills, and their skills are needed in the job market, and they are paid when they finish working. Is it the country that when you finish working in a month, you own 10 months salary? If you own 10 months salary, how do you pay your tax?
I wonder.
How do you purchase from the market that will have the multiplier effect?
What joy? The person that is even doing the job.
So I mean, if you finish working 9 months, you are not paid. 6 months, you are not paid. How do you buy bread?
I wonder.
How do you buy a pair of shoes? How do you buy a pair of shirts? How do you buy a new tie?
Yes.
That will enable the man that is selling tie, as well as selling shoe, as well as selling food, to make something. Because this is the multiplier effect of government being responsible and paid. So these are the problems. You do not create the jobs. People that don't have job. If you don't have job, why are you taxing the man that doesn't have job? Taxes are, you tax on profit. You don't just put tax
on just anything.
On just anything.
Oh well.
So when you do all these things, that you ask yourself, do they really care about the people? Do you need to be told that when you are elected under democracy, that you are there to go and represent the people and cater for the people? Do you
how much of that representation are we getting at a time like this?
Yes. So you are, because the people that are representing you are more interested in what they take.
Yes.
For themselves. Because they are afraid of tomorrow when they come out. They cannot really go back to anybody to say, please, can you help me with
that? So they want to get it all.
They want to get it all.
There. Well, we'll see.
Because we don't have a sustainable economy.
We'll see.
You understand? So corruption have taken over.
Yes.
And these are just the things.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. We'll still share more. But then let's take what we have as our news bit, and we'll return again here.
Eurobond issuance boosts Nigeria's foreign reserves to $46.7 billion, CBN. Nigeria's foreign reserves have risen to $46.7 billion, the highest level since 2018, following renewed external inflows and the government's recent Eurobond issuance, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, said. CBN Governor Yemi Cardoso, represented by the Deputy Governor of Economic Policy, Dr. Mohammed Abdullahi, disclosed the figures at the opening of the Monetary Policy Department's 20th Anniversary Colloquium in Abuja. He noted that the current reserves level is sufficient to cover more than 10 months of imports, marketing a major buffer for the economy. Abdullahi also signaled that lending rates may begin to ease in the coming months, in line with the expectations of continued moderation in inflation. Lower rates, he said, will support improved access to credit and spur increase in investment activity across the key sectors. In the parallel market, the naira appreciated slightly, strengthening by 2 naira to close at 1,455 naira per dollar on Monday, compared with 1,457 naira on Friday. The CBN attributed the reserve uptick to stronger fixed inflow, with October 2025 emerging as the strongest month since May. Officials cited improved macroeconomic indicators and renewed interest from offshore portfolio investors as the key drivers of the rebound. Despite the rise in overall fixed inflows, foreign direct investment (FDI) weakened, declining by 25% month-on-month to $222 million, reflecting lingering investors' caution even as confidence gradually returned to the broader market. Nigeria's music industry generated 901 billion naira, $600 million in revenue in 2024, according to new data from Baselines to Billions. Nigeria's Music Market Intelligence Report, released by the National Council for Arts and Culture (NCAC) in partnership with Regal Stone Capital. The publication provides the most comprehensive financial and structural mapping of the country's music ecosystem to date, offering policymakers and investors a quantitative blueprint for what could soon become a 1.5 trillion naira, $1 billion industry by 2033. Unveiled under the leadership of Honorable Hannatu Musa Musawa, Honorable Minister of Arts, Culture, Tourism and the Creative Economy, and Obi Asika, Director General of the NCAC. The report combines financial modeling with cultural data to assess the Nigerian music economies through scale and growth trajectory. The report reveals that live performances and touring account for 65.7% of total artist income, underscoring the dominance of on-ground experiences in Nigeria's music economy. Streaming and social media monetization contribute 30.1%, while brand partnerships, publishing, and sync licensing make up just 3%, pointing to vast untapped potential in secondary revenue streams. Using platforms analytics, artist earnings data, and insights from executives across Spotify, YouTube, Boomplay, MTN, The Blog, Duke Concept, and Megalistrix, the report creates a baseline for tackling performance across value chains from streaming to touring, licensing, and digital monetization. Beyond the impressive valuation, the report also outlines critical gaps that threaten the industry's long-term sustainability, including copyright enforcement, publishing efficiency, and reform of collection societies. It also calls for greater investment in touring infrastructure, broadband access, and payment systems to strengthen Nigeria's position as Africa's creative epicenter.
Well, that has been our news beat, and hearing this story that the entertainment industry, music industry, is bringing millions of naira, billions of naira into Nigeria, into the economy, is beautiful news, you know. But then again, these are efforts of individuals. What has the government done in ensuring that these things would affect the rest of the people? These are the things we need to find out. because I know that Nigerians are very resilient, and in their resilience they do a lot as individuals. Just as we know that the southeastern part of Nigeria all the years have done development all on themselves, by themselves, on their own. It's just recently that they started having one thing or the other from the government. If not, it has been self-help effort. But this is the Nigerian spirit. Well, we're still on the program, and it still remains the economy today. My guest is still, I will say it again, a legal luminary, and someone who knows what it means to talk about governance, and someone who knows about the cries of the people. That is what has qualified him to be here, eminently to be here on this program today, to talk concerning the rising cost of living and this impact on the people. Well, because of our time, we'll be looking towards the end of it. That is words of advice for the people, words of encouragement for the people, and how we'll still continue to come out of it also.
Well, despite whatever is the gloomy economy that we have in Nigeria, and we all already understand how painful it is and how embittered the people are. The worst thing that can happen is where you say you are no longer having a hope. The most worrisome thing will be the most hopeless situation. We must continue to give ourselves hope. There are things people can do to also help themselves in this very harsh economy. And there are things that the government will need to do to help the people in this harsh economy. As individuals, I believe that we can actually look at our budgeting and lifestyle and begin to prioritize what is necessary. You no longer buy things because you want them. You buy what you need. You consume what you need to consume, not what you want. I mean, the era of going to buy the choicest whiskey to impress is gone. I mean, you can also have alternative in this things. You look at the kind of food you eat, the time of going to a restaurant to want to order for hippopotamus or octopus is gone. You order for what you can afford. You look at for example, if you look at the cost of energy, the utility bill, you don't need to be told that when you don't need light, you switch it off. You change your bulbs to energy bulb. It conserves more energy and reduce cost of electricity. Same thing with water bill. Instead of letting your tap run unnecessarily, you off it when you don't need it, and you take water when you need water, not to waste anymore. You understand?
Yes.
Even if it is sending children to school, you have to look at it. If a public school has good teachers and is functional, you might consider that instead of taking children to schools where they are going to be paying from
the private schools,
where paying from your nose, and
still
contributing to building a school that you are paying school fees for. But I see some private schools that are collecting up to 1.2 million to 2 million on children, and they have PTA asking parents of that school to contribute money to build a school. And I wonder why should it be like that? You know. So the government on its own hands has a lot of job to do. They have to see how they can control inflation. They have to see how they can provide subsidy in certain areas. There's nothing wrong in providing subsidy for citizens, either as food stamps, either as subsidizing agriculture, or encouraging agriculture actually.
Yes.
You understand? There's nothing wrong in encouraging farmers with improved seedlings, fertilizer, low interest loans, so that they can farm more and provide security for those who are going to the farm to farm. The government can do all those things. The government can create the infrastructure that will enable people to transport their farm produce from the farm to the market. That reduces costs of transportation, which is actually one of the things that makes cost of living to be high. So there's a lot the government can do in terms of building infrastructure, controlling inflation, putting in subsidy, encouraging agriculture, and controlling inflation through their policies. You know, the central bank can have a lot of job to do to control inflation, to see that the money in circulation is not so much in a way that will make inflation to be that very bad. All these things require some bit of balancing act. And then the government must ensure that they reduce wastages in cost of governance and corruption in government, because these are the things that are contributing to the worst living crisis that we're having today, where the cost of living is so, cost of running government is so high that even when they borrow the money, they see they lose the money again back into their purse. It doesn't justify. Nigeria, anybody that is in the Nigerian system of government should actually be ashamed. Because when you look at road construction in Ghana or Kenya, the same thing that you constructing in Nigeria, why is our own so high and their own so low? Why is the cost of construction in China so low and our own so high? It's simply because of corruption. It's difficult to find a Nigerian public official that you will come to bring business for, or you want to do business with in Nigeria, that doesn't ask you his interest. You understand? I don't know what our local government chairman.
And not only that, interest is not small, it's huge interest.
It's huge interest. They want kickback and they want to be part of the business again. And these things are strange to foreign investors. I remember when I was local government chairman, I built the ICT center. I know that government managing it will be a waste. I didn't want government to manage. I want some company that will come and invest in equipping those centers and run it. Pay us any token. Because what I was interested in, the people getting the service, getting the people in to learn, to create a digital hub. You understand? Create an innovation hub in the local government. We already build the facilities, but I want who will manage it, who will run it, bring the equipment and run. If possible, pay us 1 million naira every year. It's better for me than
letting it be.
Letting it be.
And the government that are
some foreign expatriates came. They looked at it. We almost having a deal. And in the evening, when we are just having it, they asked me a simple question: how long are you in office? I said we are renewed every 3 months. And he said every 3 months. He said yes. I said yes. He said that these 3 months that you have now, how many months remain inside? I said we have spent 2 months and 1 week. So remain 3 weeks, we'll go back for renewal. And he asked me one question: so when you are not renewed, what happens? I said, well, that becomes it. The white man said I can do business. But one, since we've been talking and communicating via telephone or email, I've had over 18-20 years experience in Nigeria. You are the first public officer that I came into contact with that did not ask for anything. You didn't ask for anything. You didn't ask for an interest in the transaction. And you didn't ask us to bring anything for your personal distance. You're talking about your people getting service. Said you are the first. And he has been asking himself if I'm for real.
Because it's not Nigeria.
It's not Nigeria. And I was like, I was personally embarrassed that this is the white man's notion of my country and the people.
And your country.
And because I said I'm not going to, I'm not sure of the next 2 months. Of the next month, what will happen? The man said they said they cannot do business. And that was how, if I knew, I would have told him I still have one. But that was the end of the discussion. He said, you're a good man. I don't want tomorrow somebody will come and start changing all these things we have agreed with you because we are not even sure of coming back. And the white man was right. 3 weeks after, we were asked to hand over and I left office. And the first thing my successor did, I'm sorry to say it on the television, was to go to the projects that investors are doing in my local government, the markets that are building, the developers that are building, remodernizing the market. When they are beginning to put stop work, was putting stop work every day. I was asking myself, what kind of hostile takeover is this? One, this is not government money. These are investors' money.
See?
Even though they're local investors, they are investors.
They're investors.
And no investor want to be treated that way. Until today, that stagnated the development in that market. Even when they revise themselves and because of whatever is their interest they are looking for, only God knows with them. But they already caused the damage. Because these are investors. And whether it is local investors or they are foreign investors, investors are investors. Investors want to be guaranteed and assured of their investment, that they recover and recoup their investment.
Yes.
And the attitude of our people is what have caused us not to have investors coming in, or that we're having investors flight. Even the ones that are in Nigeria are moving away because of
going to other countries.
Those other countries that were better than because of the ease of doing business in Nigeria is very, very harsh and not conducive. So I'm talking this from my own experience, and it pains. Let me tell you, it pains that you are still there, you are still alive. You just turned your back just some months ago, and every legacy you suffered to build is being destroyed by those that out of and this is happening out of personal greed, not because you did something wrong. Greed. You understand? So the passion to really work for the people, and not there. You begin to ask yourself, why did you suffer your skin? Why did you suffer your mouth?
To go through
all these things, only for you to be alive. All these things are being turned upside down. That's the problem with our lack of sustainability and commitment and consistency.
Well, you have seen real talk and understood. One thing I know is that we still have good people in this country. It's just opportunities for them to get on that we are waiting for. I hope it will come one day. And talking about the cost of living, rising cost of living, and having discussed the impact on the people, I want to say special thanks to Barrister Clement Aguiyi for being here and doing real justice to what we have discussed today. It's a great pleasure having you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Do come again, you know.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're serving Nigeria, we keep making our inputs. So long as we have life in us, we'll continue to make Nigeria a better place.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And dear viewer, we are going to play news from the newsroom, and that is from where we'll go. So before I take my leave of you right now, I want to say special thanks to Blissful Capacity as well as Divine Dabila. Thank you. Special thanks to Victor Adeyeye, Victor Chizea, and there are others who have worked with us on this program. And let me not forget Juben Okala. Thank you all for whatever we have done to make sure that the best has come out on the program. Do please remember that these programs are streamed live most of the time, and afterwards you can still watch and see it on our YouTube pages, or our YouTube page if you like, that of Kaftan Television, on Instagram, Kaftan Television, even Facebook we still have Kaftan Television. Please be part of it, make your comments, because we'll read and bring them up here to talk and get better. I want to say that the very best is what we want to pray, but don't forget, we will take our business news, and from there I'll take my leave. Okechukwu Onubogu here. May the very best happen to us all the time.
The Nigerian stock market is cautiously positioned for a mildly positive week as investors continue to stabilize positions following last week's massive volatility triggered by the proposed 222.6 capital gains tax CGT. The tax uncertainty initially caused widespread panic, leading to a historic 5.01% single session decline last Tuesday. However, sentiment recovered midweek after the government hinted at a possible review of the tax proposal, prompting bargain hunters to return. Analysts predict a mixed but mildly positive performance as experts also anticipate a positive buoy from the CGT policy clarity and the expected release of October inflation data, which could reinforce expectations of a potential rate cut later this month. Despite the near-term optimism, some analysts note the underlying tone remains cautious. They state the market sits at an inflection point as investors weigh year-end profit-taking against evolving macro cues, including the upcoming November Monetary Policy Committee decision on interest rates. The federal government has called for the establishment of indigenous aircraft leasing companies to strengthen aviation financing and support airline fleet modernization. Aviation Minister Festus Keyamo, speaking at the 2025 FAN National Aviation Conference (FNAC) in Lagos, emphasized Nigeria's strategic position as a major aviation hub. He highlighted that the country's improved legal framework now provides a conducive environment for local leasing firms, enabling airlines to access financing more efficiently for fleet expansion. Keyamo stressed that developing Nigerian-owned leasing companies will deepen aviation financing, encourage private sector investment, and facilitate fleet modernization through transparent public-private partnerships. He also highlighted other opportunities, including airport infrastructure upgrades, the creation of regional maintenance, repair and overhaul MRO hubs to retain offshore maintenance, and dedicated cargo and logistic hubs to support agricultural and industrial exports. State leaders showcased major projects, including Plato's Yakubu Gowon Airport, Fresh Cargo Hub, and Imo's Sam Mbakwe International Cargo Airport upgrades, emphasizing PPP initiatives to unlock economic potential, boost regional connectivity, and position Nigeria as a competitive aviation and logistic hub. A technical outage at the Cloudflare, a core internet infrastructure provider, temporarily downed, impacting several major online platforms. Cloudflare, which provides essential services like protection against hackers and managing heavy website traffic, confirmed the disruption. The company initially stated it was investigating an issue which potentially impacts multiple customers. Of an outage monitoring site, Down Detector was affected. While Cloudflare reported that services were beginning to recover, they warned that customers might still see higher than normal error rates as remediation efforts continue. The incident highlights a growing concern over the Internet's reliance on a few major providers. Graham Stout, head of public sector at Checkpoint, emphasized the profound impact. During today's outage, news sites, payments, public information pages, and community services all froze. It was because a single layer they all rely on stopped responding, he said. Any platform that carries this much of the world's traffic becomes a target. Often an accidental outage creates noise and uncertainty that attackers now know how to use. This event follows other recent major internet failures involving services like Amazon Web Services, AWS, and Microsoft's Azure.